A corrugated metal shed outside Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. January heat, 42 degrees, sealed steel pressure cylinders on a concrete slab inside. No compressor, no fan, and no electrical draw. A hose through the wall, cool air pouring into the kitchen. This farmer's cooling bill is zero. Has been for 6 years. By the end of this video, you will discover the one number the battery industry cannot afford for you to calculate. I did not believe him at first. Nobody on the forum did. A retired mechanical engineer posting from somewhere in rural New South Wales claimed he had been cooling his entire farmhouse for 6 years using steel pressure cylinders packed with calcium chloride and ammonia gas. No compressor, no electricity, just sealed cylinders, high-pressure steel tubing, and a solar thermal panel on the roof. He posted blurry photos and handwritten pressure charts that looked more like a chemistry exam than a cooling system. Month after month, his data held up. Nobody could poke a hole in it. So last autumn, I flew to Australia to try. I made 2 stops. The first was the Australian National University campus in Canberra. Researchers in the Solar Thermal Laboratory walked me through a 20-kilowatt ammonia dissociation receiver mounted on a parabolic dish in the courtyard. I watched focused sunlight split ammonia gas into nitrogen and hydrogen inside a steel reactor. No combustion, no grid connection, no sound except the tracking motor adjusting the dish. When they recombined the gases over a catalyst later that afternoon, the reactor released stored heat on demand. I placed my hand on the housing, warm to the touch. The energy inside that vessel had been sunlight 6 hours earlier. It waited until someone asked for it back. 3 hours southwest, I stood inside the corrugated shed on the Riverina property. 8 sealed steel pressure cylinders, each one packed with granulated calcium chloride. A closed ammonia loop connected through carbon steel or stainless steel tubing to an evacuated tube solar collector on the roof. During the day, solar heat drives ammonia vapor out of the salt bed. The ammonia flows to a condenser section where it liquefies. At night or on demand, the liquid ammonia flows back into the salt. The calcium chloride reabsorbs it in an exothermic reaction that releases heat. Run the evaporation stage differently and it produces a cooling effect instead. I placed my own thermometer at the outlet vent, 16 degrees Celsius of chilled air pouring into a 42-degree afternoon. Not 1 watt of electricity involved. The farmer showed me 6 years of handwritten logs, not 1 component failure, not 1 salt replacement, not 1 ammonia top-up. His total build cost in Australian dollars was under $800. The ducted air conditioning system in his neighbor's house cost $11,000 installed and pulls 14 kilowatt hours per day every summer. That neighbor has already replaced the compressor once. He will replace it again. This farmer did not invent the chemistry sitting in those drums. It is over 100 years old, and the man who first proved the reaction that makes it possible won a Nobel Prize. In 1909, at the University of Karlsruhe in Germany, a chemist named Fritz Haber demonstrated something that changed the planet. He forced nitrogen and hydrogen to combine into ammonia using high temperature, high pressure, and an iron catalyst. The reaction was reversible. Apply heat and ammonia releases from the carrier. Remove the heat and the molecules recombine, releasing that same energy. Carl Bosch at BASF scaled the process to industrial production by 1913. The Haber-Bosch process fed the world. But buried inside its chemistry was something nobody pursued for decades: a perfect energy storage loop. Heat breaks the bond reforms and returns the heat. No degradation, no consumable, just molecules cycling back and forth like a breathing engine. The solar storage insight came 60 years later. Peter Carden at the Australian National University in Canberra proposed in the late 1970s that the reversible ammonia reaction could function as a closed-loop solar thermal battery. Sunlight splits ammonia during the day. The resulting nitrogen and hydrogen are stored in tanks. When energy is needed, the gases recombine over a catalyst and release high-grade heat. The working fluid never wears out. Carden published the concept. Then a colleague built it. Keith Lovegrove, also at ANU, constructed and operated a 20-kilowatt solar dish ammonia receiver through the 1990s and into the 2000s. He ran thousands of charge and discharge cycles. No measurable loss of the ammonia working fluid. No degradation of the catalyst. His published results showed thermochemical storage density far exceeding molten salt, the medium used in every commercial concentrated solar plant on Earth. The chemistry was not theoretical. It sat on a concrete pad in Canberra, producing heat from stored sunlight on demand. A parallel branch developed in Europe. Researchers at TNO in Delft in the Netherlands and at Empa in Switzerland investigated a simpler variant through the 2000s and 2010s. Metal chloride salts, especially calcium chloride, absorb ammonia gas in a powerful exothermic reaction. Drive the ammonia back out with solar heat and you recharge the system. The salt does not degrade. The ammonia does not degrade. TNEO researchers measured over 10,000 charge and discharge cycles with no capacity loss. Rows of sealed reactor tubes packed with white calcium chloride granules sat on laboratory benches in Delft, proving that a bag of road salt and a cylinder of ammonia could outlast every lithium cell on the market. Modern confirmation came from the largest research body in Australia. CSIRO invested heavily in green ammonia as an energy carrier through the 2020s. Japan's Cross-Ministerial Strategic Innovation Promotion Program funded ammonia co-firing in power plants, recognizing ammonia as a zero-carbon fuel and storage vector. The science was never in doubt. The chemistry was never obsolete. It was waiting for someone to notice that nobody was selling it. A storage chemistry with no degradation, no lithium, no cobalt, no rare earth mining, and a cost per cycle that falls every year it operates. So why has nobody put it in your house? Because two industries worth a combined $400 billion a year need you to keep buying things that break. The United States Department of Energy allocated over $400 million to battery storage research in fiscal year 2023. The vast majority went to lithium-ion, solid-state lithium, and flow battery programs. Thermochemical storage received a fraction. Individual thermochemical projects funded through ARPAE received $1 to $3 million each, while lithium-ion manufacturing collected billions through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act combined. Picture the conference rooms where those allocations were decided. Picture the binders on the table printed with the logos of lithium cell manufacturers. Picture the lobbyists walking the hallways of the Rayburn House office building the week before the vote. The Inflation Reduction Act of 2022 created the Section 48E investment tax credit for energy storage. The qualifying technologies include electrochemical batteries, compressed air, pumped hydro, and hydrogen produced through electrolysis. Thermochemical heat storage using ammonia or salt ammonia sorption is not named, not prohibited, simply absent. A homeowner who installs a Tesla Powerwall receives a 30% federal tax credit. A homeowner who builds a thermochemical ammonia store receives nothing. The distinction was not accidental, it was purchased. The building codes tell the same story through silence. The International Residential Code and the International Energy Conservation Code, both maintained by the International Code Council, define approved thermal storage as water tanks or phase change materials integrated with HVAC systems. Search those documents cover to cover. The words ammonia thermal storage do not appear. A technology that does not exist in the code does not get specified by architects. It does not get approved by inspectors. It does not get financed by banks. It vanishes from the built environment without a single law being passed against it. Picture a building inspector flipping through that code book, finding nothing. Not a prohibition, just empty pages where the entry should be. The global lithium-ion battery market exceeded $150 billion in 2025 alone. The global residential HVAC market exceeded $250 billion. Both industries depend on products that wear out. A lithium wall battery degrades to 80% capacity within 10 years. A central air conditioning compressor lasts 12 to 15 years. A thermochemical ammonia store has no moving parts and no degradation mechanism. Every unit installed eliminates decades of repeat purchases from both industries at once. Families opening their utility bills at kitchen tables every month and setting them face down are the revenue stream. The discomfort is the product. Now, if you do not own land, if you are not off-grid, if you are sitting in a suburban house or an apartment right now, stay with me, because the science that comes next works on a simple thermal principle, costs a fraction of standard commercial batteries, and shows what is possible when you rethink energy storage. This part was built specifically for you. Here is the number I promised at the beginning of this video, the one calculation that changes everything. A Tesla Powerwall, 2 stores 13.5 kilowatt hours of energy. It costs approximately $11,500 installed. It carries a warranty for 10 years, roughly 3,650 cycles. That works out to about 23 cents per kilowatt hour stored over its warranty life. A homemade calcium chloride ammonia thermochemical store sized for equivalent daily heating or cooling capacity can be built from raw materials for $200 to $400. The calcium chloride does not degrade. The ammonia does not degrade. Over a 30-year service life with daily cycling, the cost per kilowatt hour of thermal energy stored approaches 3 to 5 cents. 3 to 5 cents versus 23 cents. That is a 5 to 7 times cost advantage over the product that funds a $150 billion industry. That is the number. That is why they buried it. Here is how you build this yourself. You need food-grade calcium chloride granules in a 50-pound bag at $20 to $30 from an agricultural supply or ice melt supplier. This is the $30 bag from the title of this video. You need steel pipe sections or small pressure-rated vessels for your reactor chambers at $40 to $80 total from a plumbing or welding supplier. You need a small cylinder of anhydrous ammonia from a welding supply or agricultural supplier at $20 to $40 for the initial charge. You need high-pressure carbon steel or stainless steel tubing rated for anhydrous ammonia service at $20 to $30. You need one evacuated tube solar thermal collector or flat plate collector for heat input at $100 to $150 from an online supplier. You need 2 pressure relief valves rated for ammonia service at $15 to $20 each. You need carbon steel or stainless steel fittings, valves, and a pressure gauge at $30 to $50. You need insulation wrap for the reactor vessels and piping at $10 to $20. Total system cost runs approximately $250 to $400. The build follows 8 steps. First, pack your reactor chambers with calcium chloride granules, leaving headspace at the top for ammonia vapor to flow. Second, seal each reactor with threaded end caps and install a pressure relief valve rated for ammonia service on every single vessel. Third, connect the reactors in parallel using high-pressure steel tubing to a central condenser and ammonia reservoir. Fourth, mount your solar thermal collector on the roof or a ground stand oriented for maximum sun exposure. Fifth, connect the collector heat loop to the reactor vessels so solar thermal energy drives ammonia out of the calcium chloride during the day. Sixth, install a condenser section using finned steel tubing exposed to ambient air or buried in cool ground where the released ammonia vapor condenses and flows to the reservoir. Seventh, to release stored energy, open the valve and allow liquid ammonia to flow back into the reactors. The calcium chloride reabsorbs the ammonia and the exothermic reaction releases heat directly. Run the evaporation stage through a separate evaporator coil before the ammonia reaches the salt, and it produces a cooling effect instead. Eighth, charge the system with anhydrous ammonia through the service valve, pressurize, and leak test every single fitting with soapy water before you operate anything. 3 safety points you cannot skip. Ammonia gas is toxic and irritates mucous membranes on contact. Always work outdoors or in a thoroughly ventilated space. Wear chemical splash goggles and nitrile gloves every time you handle it. Keep a water hose within arm's reach. Ammonia dissolves readily in water, and water is the primary first aid response for any exposure. Second, this is a pressurized system. Use only pressure-rated vessels, fittings, and relief valves. Never seal a reactor without a functioning relief valve installed. Never apply heat to a sealed ammonia vessel beyond the rated pressure of its relief device. Third, calcium chloride is a mild skin irritant and is extremely hygroscopic. Wear gloves when handling it. Store it in sealed containers away from moisture at all times. 2 operating notes that will save you trouble. This system is best suited for daily cycling where the solar collector recharges the salt bed every sunny day. It is not designed for seasonal storage unless you scale the salt mass and ammonia charge significantly. The system produces thermal energy directly. It heats or cools your living space. It does not produce electricity. For most homes, space heating and cooling represent 40 to 60% of the total energy bill. That makes thermal storage the single highest impact target you can hit. The chemistry is over 100 years old. The materials cost less than a single month of utility bills. The science has been proven on 3 continents. The only thing that kept it from you was the people selling what it replaces.